56 to 22. 56 to 22. I haven't seen a game like this. I haven't seen a team like this since that year. I don't remember what year it was, but that year the New England Patriots had Randy Moss. And you know, here's my main thing. Let me go through the stats really quick, and then I'm going to get to my opinions as far as this championship game because I'm a bit concerned. I'm gonna be real. Me being somebody who picked the Miami Hurricanes to win it all, but then seeing just this sheer and utter dominance. But I'm going to get to my thoughts really quick here. 56 to 22. Oh, man. I'm sure Oregon wanted to win this game. Sometimes you're just outmatched. In this game in particular, they were outmatched, outcoached. Um, Indiana wanted it more. Oregon had some bad luck with injuries and people hitting the portal. The portal within itself, I think, tells you about a program sometimes because sometimes the portal is letting you know that people feel undervalued, underappreciated, and they're trying to leave. I'm sure there probably are some guys leaving Indiana, jumping in the portal. I haven't heard of any of them though, and I'm tapped in. You know, I'm so for Oregon to have issues with running backs, I don't know. I don't get that. That maybe to me says more about the recruiting department. They should have a stable of backs. I mean, y'all finna be dripped up. Even if you're not playing, you're gonna be here, getting better, developing, getting paid. Oregon should have a stable of backs. There's too many backs who aren't playing in other at other schools. Why not come here to Oregon and just post up and just get better and be prepared? Because we need depth. There's too many games where it's like we're beating the hell out of this team. We don't need our star running back playing in this game anymore. Let's get these guys in here. Dante Moore had 285 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. And yeah, he had a really rough game. I mean, just the start of this game, I was shocked. The way this game started, I was just like, jaw wide open, just jaw just wide open, jaw dropped. Just I knew what time it was. How fascinating. How I don't know the script that's being written for this season of college football is just fascinating. Carson Beck is from Florida. Fernando Mendoza is from Florida. D'Angelo Pons is from Florida. And all these guys are about to play in the national championship game in Florida. Fernando Mendoza and Pons specifically being from Miami. You can't write no script like that. And then the Miami Hurricanes are going to be playing at home. I was watching the Herd the other day, and heard or that might have been today, and I heard Colin Cowherd say, Miami playing at home is going to help them. I disagree. I don't know if you saw my other video. It ain't got that many views on it right now, but I disagree 1,000%. I think Miami playing at home is going to make it harder for them. I just saw a video from Fernando Mendoza. I was going to put it on the screen here, and I'll try to put it on the screen. I just can't really do too much of my work right now, so I can't really do a whole reaction video or whatever. But he was talking at the end of the game, and you could just tell just based on how they were doing the celebration, the energy in the celebration. Indiana gave themselves a chance to genuinely celebrate winning the Big Ten title game. They gave themselves a chance to genuinely celebrate winning the Rose Bowl. At this point, I think they are sick of winning. I think they're sick of all these gifts, all these, people telling them they're the best. They're sick of it. They don't care about it. I heard Fernando Mendoza in the press conference talking about stoicism. He's talking about stoicism and he's talking about delayed gratification.
Yeah, I would say delayed gratification is a concept that, was brought up by Stoicism and by the Stoics, and I think it's one of the greatest it's one of the greatest attributes. If you're able to have delayed gratification, discipline in yourself, and discipline in your process and preparation, you're able to execute every single week. Like, this play or this game is the national championship game. Like, this game is the most important thing. And so I think that a lot of players and a lot of coaches and just everybody in Bloomington has done a great job of upholding that concept of delayed gratification and discipline throughout all aspects of our lives. When there's a lot of distractions, and especially with the Big Ten championship and the Heisman and all the other things, I think our team has done a great job of keeping that delayed gratification at the forefront.
These boys are focused, and it's scary. They're playing like every play matters. And when I watch the Miami Hurricanes, they left so many plays on the field. They played as though they didn't deserve to be there in that last game against Ole Miss. They made that a game. It shouldn't have even been a game. Miami should have. I'm not saying Miami should have beat Ole Miss the way Indiana beat Oregon. Hell, I don't know that Indiana should have beat Oregon like that. Granted, I mean, yeah, they should have, just based on how hard they came out, how well they played, and how Oregon didn't take advantage of no more than like 3 possessions. But Miami could have picked off Trinidad Chambliss about 3 times in that game, and that would have changed the outcome of that game completely. If and I guess I'm kind of done talking about Oregon here. I might go back. There's not that much to say about them, but let me just say like this: if Miami is gonna beat Indiana, I mean, my bracket's on point right now. I did pick Oklahoma to win. I did pick Georgia to beat Ole Miss, but I picked Miami and Indiana in the championship game. How many of you can say that? I'm sure some of you can, not all. Maybe not many. If Miami's going to beat Indiana, they are going to need to run the hell out the ball. Carson Beck can't win you this game. I knew that the game against Ole Miss was going to be Tony and Beck. I knew that much. I don't know why I felt that way, but I believe in my pulse for the game. I can be wrong sometimes. There's plenty of times I'm wrong. But sometimes when I'm wrong, that team loses. I'm not saying I'm an offensive coordinator. I'm not saying I know better than those coaches, but I think sometimes coaches get caught up in the game within the game, and now they're trying to win a different kind of game as opposed to a game that they're playing, they're coaching against. Sometimes they're trying to prove something, you know, as opposed to going to their guy, going to that main guy. For Miami to beat Indiana, Miami's going to have to win in the trenches on both sides of the ball, and they're going to need to run the ball about 40 times. Both of their running backs, Brown and Fletcher, are going to need 20 carries apiece. That's the only way they're going to win this game. They're going to need to dominate the time of possession battle, and they're going to need to avoid turnovers, and they're going to need to try and create 1 to 2 turnovers. It's possible. Indiana's not at, they're not, they always look perfect if you look at the stat line. Fernando Mendoza, 17 to 20, 85%. 177 yards, 5 touchdowns. I mean, the defense kept getting the ball and giving them like 10 yards to get into the end zone. So one quick pass, boom. I'm a big fan of Surratt. I've been saying it since I first watched him. I think the first time I watched him was when they played against Oregon. And he just made Oregon's DBs look small and helpless. And they look that way again today. He knows how to get the ball. He knows where he wants the ball at. Him and Fernando have great chemistry. If I'm the Raiders, I'm picking Fernando 1, but I'm also trying to get Surratt in the second or third round, wherever he falls. I'm trying to keep them together because those two have some really good chemistry. And Surratt is not the fastest guy, but he knows how to get open. He knows how to catch passes that keep the chains moving, and Fernando knows how to throw it in those spots to keep the chains moving. They do the back shoulder throw better than anybody I've seen in a long time. Like I was saying, for Miami to win this game, they're going to need to run the hell out of the ball. And then on defense, I know Bain and Mesidor didn't show up against Ole Miss, and it's because Ole Miss played fast. They had that same kind of offense that Louisville had. I've never seen Indiana play that way. Indiana's got great wide receiver play, and Indiana can absolutely beat Miami deep. But I don't see Indiana being a team that plays short, plays the short intermediate to short game. They have receivers. Becker is a guy who can beat you over the top, a guy who can, stretch the field. Cooper, stretch the field, post routes. He's maybe more your gadget guy. And they're starting to do some stuff where they're putting pawns on offense, which was interesting, but they didn't do too much with it. And then you got Surratt, big time possession wide receiver. Every time he catches the ball, you're looking at about 10 to 20 yards within that range. Very dangerous in the goal line. Miami tackled fairly well. I would say 60, 70% of the time. They were making their tackles, they were gang tackling. You know, they did give up that one long run to Kewan Lacey, but Miami, for them to win this game, Ruben Bain would have to go insane. Bar. Mesidor would have to be playing with his hair on fire. Those two guys would have to be putting so much pressure on Fernando Mendoza that they get him. I don't know if he can be rattled, but they get him, make him uncomfortable, make him feel their pressure, make him feel their pain. And um, I would maybe even continue what they were trying to do last week with Trinidad Chambliss when they were constantly blitzing Keontae Scott. I would do it again, just trying to get into his face because Indiana's giving off this kind of energy of like, we're impossible to beat, but that's not the case. I mean, they almost lost to Iowa. They almost lost to Penn State. Got to go back and watch that tape and try to see why. What were those two teams doing? And I do remember the Penn State game slightly. And Penn State was running the fuck out the ball. They were controlling the game. They were running the hell out the ball. I got to go back and watch that so I can really kind of catch the vibes of what took place in that game. But it's going to be possible, for Miami to win this game. Miami's coming in as the underdog, even though they're at home. And Miami, I wouldn't be surprised if there's more Indiana fans than Miami fans out there, because Miami fans don't always show up. Granted, this is going to be the championship game, so they will show up for this one. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's more Indiana fans. You saw the way that they traveled to Georgia, from Indiana to Georgia. They pulled up. It was about 90% of the people there were Indiana fans, it looks like. So they ain't got that much further to go to get to Miami. So they're going to pull up. Um, and my biggest thing, and I talked about it in the last video, Miami feels to me like they won their championship already. Nobody was expecting them to be here. They were the last team to get in. Nobody was expecting them to be here. And if they stopped right here, everybody would have said that they had a great season. Everybody will give them their consolation prize, and everybody's going to just say that it's all good. They were going up against a team that they're not supposed to beat. That's where everybody's going to be at with it. But I'm going to just say that it's possible. They got to play spoiler like a motherfucker. They got to be the New York Giants to the New England Patriots that year that the Patriots were undefeated. And that's kind of what we're looking at right here. Fernando Mendoza is totally giving off that quarterback who's unrattled and giving you all kinds of problems. But Miami has certain ingredients that can absolutely give this team some issues. But they're going to need to be aggressively conservative. And I think that starts with the trenches on offense. I think that's all about Fletcher and Brown. I think this is the type of game where Carson Beck probably only needs to throw the ball about 15 times or so. Big time throws, big time. Only on like third downs, third and shorts to third and sixes. And, this is the type of game where Miami's got to make it muddy. They got to make it dirty, and they got to get stops. And to do so, I think that they have to find a way to put pressure on Mendoza. Got to get to him first. So, got to go back and watch the Iowa game. Got to go back and watch the Penn State game. Even go back and watch the first Oregon game against Indiana, because that game was much closer. And, Fernando did throw an interception in that game, a pick six, if I'm not mistaken. So got to go back and watch those. But, I mean, this was just a huge, valiant effort by Indiana. Got to figure out what's going on with Oregon and, Dan Lanning and, getting blown out constantly in these games. Maybe it's just the effort of the other team, but what's up with the effort of his team? Maybe his team gets to this point and just feels like we've kind of given it our all and done everything we could, and we know we don't have it. I was so confused as to why they didn't really test that secondary more. Like, come on. Dante Moore is holding on to the ball. Is Indiana's coverage down the field that good? Was it that good? Where the hell was Decoria Moore? This guy was just a no-show up until like the third quarter where he finally got his first catch. Yes, they were getting pressure on Dante Moore, but To beat Indiana on offense in the passing game, most specifically, I think you need the ingredients of what UCLA had, but you just got to be good at it, and that's quick game. Got to be good at it. You just got to be able to death by 1,000 cuts going down the field. So, yeah, there we go. This is going to be the best college football game we've had all season, Miami and Indiana. There's no doubt about that, and I'm absolutely looking forward to it. Um, I would try to go if I could. I don't think that's going to be possible, logistically speaking, but I'm going to be covering it. So you can absolutely expect to be seeing a video about that championship game. As for this one, this is a very embarrassing effort by Oregon. I would imagine that maybe even Texas Tech might have been a better matchup for Indiana because of their edge rusher and what he might have been able to do to disrupt Fernando Mendoza and this offense. It just always felt like Indiana wasn't going to be stopped. And every time Indiana was stopped in this game, it felt like it was because of the refs. It felt like the refs were trying to make this a game somewhat, you know. But hey, look, I'm glad that game was over because it was just looking ugly. It felt like Oregon wanted it to be over, honestly. Um, but with that being said, guys, this is it for this video. Um, Shout out to Indiana. I love the way they're handling their post-game press conferences. They just look like they're ready to get things going. They just look like they're ready for the next one. They look so locked in. And then the Hurricanes, I'm seeing Michael Irvin. He putting the belt to ass to the garbage can with the jersey on it. It feels like this is it for Miami. I'm going to be honest with you. It feels like they've kind of done all that they could, especially the way that defense underperformed in that last game. Too many opportunities were missed. And if that's the kind of energy that they're bringing over, you can't port that kind of energy over into this next one. The defense has to be so locked in that not a single pass touches the ground. Everything got to be something that your hands just inhale. You got to constantly find a way to be around the ball. And I don't understand why Miami came out as flat as they did defensively against Ole Miss. They made stops, but they dropped picks, they dropped opportunities. And you're not going to win if you can't take the ball away against Indiana. You're going to have to take the ball away against Indiana. You're going to have to get stops, and you got to take the ball away. I'm dying to watch this game. I'm going to be locked in. So locked in. Guys, if you got to this part of the video, I really appreciate you watching because you didn't have to. Would appreciate it 10 times more if you decided to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you're thinking as far as what we just watched and as far as what you're thinking. I'm still rolling with Miami, but I'm just keeping it a buck. I would not be surprised if Indiana absolutely routed them. I wouldn't be surprised. We're gonna find out a lot about Carson Beck in this one. Peace.